This is Mitsukoshi department store in Japan. It has employees just like any other business, except for one. Meet Aiko Chikira, an android built by Toshiba. She was designed to be one of the most lifelike robots to date. So, why does she still look so creepy? How does the way robots look and interact with us change our perception of them? Since 1970, with the invention of the Wabot 1, humanoid robots have fascinated our imagination, spawning countless movies and ideas of what the future might hold. And at the time, it was an incredible technological advancement, and since then, we've come a long way. That being said, engineers still face problems making mechanical movements and physical appearance resemble ours. To elaborate more on this, I talked with Mrs. Moran, a certified prosthesis at APL with a master's in biomedical engineering.
Depends on the patient, but I would say, there's certainly times when the patient's priority is realism, especially for upper limb prosthetics or arm prosthetics, but that's much, so I would say you're talking about a very small percentage where realism is prioritized over function. I mean, 99.9% of the time, function comes first and then realism, is the secondary. However, having both is, the ideal scenario.
And when you think about it, this kind of makes sense. Robots aren't generally meant to do multiple tasks with a single design. They're typically programmed to perform one specific task repeatedly, or multiple similar ones with minor variations. This is one of the challenges that arises when developing a design that is forced to balance both form and function. But one project out of the University of Colorado Boulder might be onto something with one of their latest inventions: Hassel artificial muscles, or hydraulic amplified self-healing electrostatic actuators. These soft muscles are capable of operating in a variety of circumstances, simply by altering the configuration of the system, and capable of operating with a delicate touch. They are also highly reactive and can operate at high speeds, even able to lift things like heavy groceries. Of course, they also work extraordinarily well as an artificial bicep that can self-sense stretch and wear and tear, but most importantly can be made from inexpensive materials. Regarding the self-healing properties of the system, quote, "In addition to serving as the hydraulic fluid which enables versatile movements, the use of a liquid insulating layer enables Hassel actuators to self-heal from electrical damage. Other soft actuators controlled by high voltage, also known as dielectric elastomer actuators, use a solid insulating layer that fails catastrophically from electrical damage." So, does this mean we need to worry about robots being invincible and taking over the world?
I will destroy humans.
Well, no, not necessarily. As of right now, computer systems and robotics are controlled by a pre-designed code that controls the movements of robots. This would be categorized into the physical aspect of the robot. However, it might be using this type of regenerative technology that Hassel actuators are capable of. On the other hand, is the quote-unquote mental side of the programming behind the system. Without artificial intelligence, a robot would not be capable of thinking for itself, and simply would be following a series of commands given to it by an engineer. So in terms of a robot takeover, there's nothing to fear as long as we take caution with the information fed to artificially intelligent machines. But this still begs the question of why robots look so bizarre, even once they're masked in synthetic skin. Well, that comes down to the way most mechanics actually function in terms of change in motion. This comes down to a factor of negative acceleration, or deceleration for simplicity. Most actuators operate through a series of immediate stops and starts that result in choppy movements that appear extremely unnatural in comparison to us. Pay close attention to the robotic arm in these short videos produced by the German automation company KUKA, in an advertising campaign to showcase one of their latest products back in 2014 through 2015. Notice how with each change in motion, it almost seems like the robot arm is teleporting from glass to glass. Although this is a good example of showcasing the lack of deceleration in robots, the first video of this two-part production by KUKA more prominently displays the way humans gradually come to a stop in comparison to robots. Although it's clear there's a stark difference between the way robots move compared to us, it's not impossible to replicate realistic movements. With the recent completion of the Na'vi River journey in Disney's Animal Kingdom, also emerges the Shaman, one of the most naturally fluid robots ever created. The animatronics and complexity of the system allows for some of the most lifelike movements ever seen in a robot, and the effort that was put towards something so advanced clearly shows through in the final product.
I look forward to seeing you on Pandora. Well, not te kameya. Was that okay?
But it's not just the way robots look on the outside that affects our perception of them, but how we interact with them as well. This is Paro, a therapeutic robot seal. He was designed to comfort elderly patients with dementia and has done an outstanding job doing so in tests. But is this somehow morally wrong? Sherry Turkle, a professor in social studies of science and technology at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, stated her opinion of these autonomous therapy robots during an interview for NPR back in 2013.
Well, no, I don't think it's amazing. And what was extraordinary to me is that although she was surrounded by people who were in a position to understand her story, we were kind of applauding and stepping back and cheering on her connection to a machine that understood nothing. And I really felt, what are we doing? Why are we essentially outsourcing the thing that defines us as people? You know, we care for our young, we care for our old, and outsourcing it to something that we knew was essentially deceiving her by tricks into thinking that it cared for her at all.
Now, robotic pets like Pero have been available as children's toys since as early as 1999 and are no revolutionary engineering leap forward. But when these robots begin to present intelligent qualities, this causes us to empathize more frequently with robots, despite being inanimate objects. From body language alone, this toy dinosaur is capable of recognizing danger and conveying a sense of urgency to its owner. During an experiment back in 2011, volunteers were placed in a room with a small toy robot. After playing with the robot for a few minutes, the volunteers were then instructed to smash their robotic companion.
And then you have to put it so it doesn't leak anymore.
Okay.
Now it's gone.
No, it's gone. Thank you.
This is inhumane. You're sick.
While some smashed the toy without a second thought, others hesitated and even tried bargaining to allow the robot to remain intact.
Hij leeft nog een beetje, hij moet wel helemaal... Ja.
Will be sure that it's dead.
The key difference between those who did and didn't follow through with destroying it was how the robot interacted with them. Those who readily picked up the hammer dealt with a robot that would suddenly stop altogether or bump into things, while the other set of volunteers had more success guiding the small robot along.
Yeah.
It's Betty.
Yes. It's cozy.
So clearly, humans tend to side with the inanimate more often when the robot benefits the user in some way. In fact, the more difficult to control robot was hit 3 times as often as its counterpart. But this of course makes sense. Everything we use around us on a day-to-day basis in society, from cars to phones, even to toothbrushes, are meant to make some task in our lives easier. With change or any sort of error on technology's part, humans are often quick to point out flaws in any area possible. This is one of the other challenges faced with when creating something that is used actively, unlike assembly line robots: user friendliness. We often become apprehensive of robots because of their difference to us and are considered unpredictable, especially when equipped with artificial intelligence. But isn't this what makes us human? Our ability to think for ourselves, and more importantly, understand the world around us? In a sense, it's clear why we would be so paranoid of self-aware robots living among us. Many people consider mankind the only truly intelligent life form that exists in our universe. In a way, these man-made beings present many of the same abilities to learn as we do. And multiple studies have been conducted on robots' abilities to learn and adjust for sudden changes. Similar to toddlers, these robots gradually learn through a series of trial and error with occasional retweaking. For example, take this small 6-legged robot. Despite one of the legs being completely incapacitated, the robot is able to learn through trial and error how to get from point A to point B.
But what happens if a mean scientist comes along and breaks one of its legs? Most robots will just try, and fail, to keep walking in the same old way. But this guy's different. It can learn to adapt its walking style. Just like an animal would, it tries out different things until it can get back on the move. Here's what it settled on. Pretty speedy. In slow motion, you can see this robot's new walk is pretty bouncy compared to its original stroll. It chose this walking style from thousands of options researchers had programmed into it, and it only took 40 seconds to work it out. The robot can adapt to many different injuries. This time, one of its legs has been snapped off. It's not easy moving with only 5 legs. After just 25 seconds though, the robot's back on the move even faster than before. It may seem cruel to this little robot, but robots can be far more versatile if they can get back on their feet after they've been injured.
And although we've created these intelligent machines, at some point they only know as much as we understand correspondingly. This hesitation to accept robots likely stems from the often grim outlook of the future, with robots capable of thinking on their own. It is within human nature to fear the unknown, and that's part of the reason we see this new field of science as a hazard to our safety. It is unclear of how, when, or even if, within the near future, artificial intelligence could not only rival, but surpass our own. So it's not just the way robots actually look to us that makes them appear so unfamiliar, but also the way we perceive almost sentient technology and how it might impact us. And although we might not have to worry about a robot takeover or granting humanity to a robot anytime soon, it still begs the question: what does the future hold for man and machine?